Alright, so this time we're doing a review on the Asolo Falcon, I think it's GV. It's a 10 and a half, no, it's 11, yeah, 11. So what I like about this shoe, it's got a nice, fairly wide toe box, and my feet they spread out well in it. I'm not like the lacing system, it's got some pluses and minuses. It's really hard for me to kind of lock off just the toe box and isolate, because they use metal rings here, and these metal rings let the laces slide through so easy. So that's something I really don't like, because when I like to have my toes completely free for most of my hiking, like a tennis shoe kind of thing, or a running shoe. And for me, I tend to get a little bit of a bunched up fabric here, because I want it tighter, and in this area of the shoe and around the ankle. But I prefer to leave this loose. So for my style of hiking, this makes it really difficult to not put more pressure than I want, because I found over time that if I can keep my toes completely loose and have my feet spread out, like basically like barefoot walking, then my feet are so much more comfortable at the end of a 20-mile hike. It's actually tolerable. I haven't done 30 miles in those yet, but that's something I'm looking forward to. But even in my 20s, I've gotten done 20, 22 miles, something like that, and my feet are the only really complaint that I've had out of my older Morel Carpa mids was that, maybe a little bit of just the rock pressure, the rock pointing underneath the foot, because those soles were really soft and really thin. But overall, if you're just doing trails and stuff, this is a pretty good solid shoe. Out of the bunch, it probably has the best overall fit. So if you're doing trails where you can kind of keep a loose tie of the shoe, you'll probably love this thing. I like it better than, like, I would say its main competitors are something like this North Face Fastpack 3. But this is going to be more robust. So it's got the full grain leather, so if you do get off and you're stepping in some snow, you got some protection there, and especially in this area right here, like if stuff comes up. You got plenty of breathability on the top of the shoe. The ankles are awesomely comfortable on this, so they're going to do a really good job of keeping the brie out. Like with the North Faces here, I get into some little bit of ankle rub issues and things like that. So it's this shoe, other than just the lacing system, to be able to isolate the toe is really what I would call perfect. If they change the lacing system on this where I could isolate the toe better and really lock it off, this would be my shoe of choice for breathability and things of that nature. It's got a really nice rubber toe ring here. It's not fully featured like some of the other shoes. It doesn't come up quite as high, but it does have the leather behind that protecting it. So I think you get the protection you probably need if you want to do some light snow kicking and that kind of thing. I kind of would like to see more of it, but it is just glued on. So, and that's another reason I would like to see more. So I feel like if it was glued further back up the toe, you would have more protection if you're going to kick a few steps in, or kick through some snow, or if you're just trudging a trail and you have to walk through some snow, that kind of thing. The toes tend to take most of that beating. So it's got a really nice heel. It locks in really well for your ankle. For me, it's a super comfortable shoe. Like I said, I just wish I could isolate the toes more, so if I wanted to tighten it up for just longer downhills, it would be a little easier. It's got a wider toe box, so I feel like my feet can spread out a good bit. The traction on it's going to be really good. It's Vibram grip on the bottom. The lugs are significantly deeper than most other shoes, which probably adds a little bit of weight to this thing, but all in all, I think it's going to chew going up loose trails, so some screed type work and things like that. And they're big enough at the same time. Like these pieces are almost as big as my finger here, especially compared to pinky or something like that. That they're going to get some pretty decent traction on rock as well. So all in all, it's a pretty solid shoe. And if you're looking for just a trail, like if you mainly do trails and that's all you really want to do, which is probably the majority of people out there. I mean, even myself, the majority of the time I only do trails. So it's probably a perfect shoe for that. I do wish it had more toe isolation. If it had toe isolation, it'd be perfect. So better toe isolation, this would be a perfect shoe in my opinion. especially for the long downhills. I guess that's something that kind of makes me think if you get into some even just some really steeper trails, something that you're getting to like some 30% grades, that kind of thing. I feel like you might have some trouble with this particular shoe as far as your toes, unless you just have enough toe room. Now this 11 does have plenty of toe room. I have a solid 1/2 inch in front of my toe, so and I've tried testing it. It's hard for me to. I don't have any downhill slopes, so you sit there and try to see if my toes are going to slip forward eventually. But I kind of bounce around in the backyard and stop myself, and so far it doesn't feel bad, to be honest. Like I haven't felt a toe jam, but that's not the same thing as getting out on a 30% grade and that kind of thing. But all in all, really good shoe. So to do some comparisons, you got the La Sportiva Blade, GTX. This shoe has the neoprene on the back. I wish this shoe had if this shoe had a little bit of neoprene, the Asolo Falcon, just a little bit. It's got it on the outsides here, but if it had just like a little piece that kind of came up, that it would seal off everything. But all in all, the shoe does, the way they designed the top of it, it does seal up pretty good. Once you push down a sock on it, like a long hiking sock, I don't think you're gonna have much of anything get in it. Nothing. It's not drastic. Like I've seen some shoes that seem like they open up and they just catch everything, but that shoe doesn't do that. So it wouldn't be a problem, but it just wouldn't be quite as good as this. This shoe's gonna fit in that area. The sole on this shoe walks well on this shoe. I'm talking about like the way it rolls, like the action. You don't feel anything weird with that. And it's a good mix of stiffness. So like if you're doing long miles, it would be a good shoe for long miles. So when you stand on like the golf ball kind of thing, it's kind of where I wish the Morels were as far as comfort goes. So they did a pretty good job with that footbed on this one, in my opinion. So all in all, it's a really good shoe. Other comparisons, let's see. I guess I should show the flex on it. So it's a fairly stiff shoe, but it flexes in the right spot. And I would say one of the closest competitors. And this one actually flexes a little bit easier, which is kind of surprising to me, but has more rigidity in here. So, or at least it feels that way to me when I stand on things. Like I can feel the ground a little more in this shoe, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Because when you have contact with the ground, you know if you're going to slip and things of that nature. You can feel it slipping if you're doing more extreme styles of hiking, that sort of thing. So, something I did find a little odd about this shoe is it seems like they've cupped it. So the outside edge is going to touch, and then you're going to have to press, like your body weight is going to actually flex it flat to the ground. So that's the only thing that I find odd about this, is it does have a slight cup shape to it up through here. So that would be interesting hiking. And I don't know if you guys can see that on the camera, but yeah, there is a little bit of a cup there. So it's a weird kind of thing. I mean, I feel like for me, it would just wear off the edges really quickly, and then I wouldn't have as much traction out here. So just and then that also, I do stand on my back, I guess, and go on those steps, and I kind of test the traction on concrete, but it's like smooth, decorative concrete, so it's similar to like what you're going to find out with rocks. Maybe you'd have more traction out there with those rocks and with natural stone, but I think that cupping limited my traction, because with most of the other shoes, I could roll up till I was basically falling off before my feet would start to slide. And with these, I definitely lost that a little sooner. Vibram No Grip's a pretty good compound. It grips really well, especially when wet kind of thing. So I think the issue is, with this one, I was just only having traction on these two outer points, and that's just not quite enough to grab. So if you're doing weight plants, then this shoe would probably work well, or once it's wore out a little bit. But that would be a downside to this particular shoe. So, yeah, I guess that's really all there is to say about that one. Any comparisons? think of. Yeah, all in all, it's a good shoe. Recapping, it just needs a lacing system that locks the toes off a little better. So for me, I would get rid of the metal lacings and put something else in there, something that you can isolate. If they did that, then I would say that would be my top contender of all these shoes, because I really like the ankle height. The ankles don't really seem to have any support on this shoe, which is completely fine with me. I just like them there in case I bump a rock or something like that. It protects them, and I like that little bit of extra protection. And it's plenty flexible. It's a really comfortable shoe. So if they could just make this toes isolated, I think they would be spot on. So well, that's it. If you guys have any questions, just let me know.